The Buffalo Sabres don't have an Owen Power problem. Owen Power has a Buffalo Sabres problem where they are not positioning him in a development place where he's being put in a place to succeed.
Let's check in with producer and third voice on this show, Sean DePaz. Sean, how are you today?
I'm struggling.
There you go.
There he is.
He's trying to press the buttons to put himself on camera, but he can't see because if you're listening on audio, Sean is wearing a bag over his head.
I want to die.
The Sabres, as famously I said last week, I'm no longer talking about the Sabres. There were 2 games last night. The headliner was the Sabres Rangers, and wouldn't you know it, the Sabres continue to lose. And let's get into it because Sean, you gave us a homework assignment last night, and you said, "Hey, if you're watching the game tonight, can you please keep an eye on Owen Power because everybody's complaining about Owen Power. Everybody's saying Owen Power, might be labeling him with the B word as a bust for a number 1 pick." You picked a really bad night to assign us the duty of watching Owen Power.
Again, you said that last night, and I would argue that I picked the perfect night to have you watch Owen Power.
I would agree with that because it took 5 minutes for us to be like, are the Sabres going to get a shot on goal in this game? Like from the bat, it did not look good for the Sabres, but we're keeping an eye on Owen Power. And, at the very least, win or lose, we're going to come away with this from some information. First bit of real information we got was that on a penalty kill, which the Sabres did nothing for the first period, so of course they needed to be killing penalties because that was the only way that they could stop the Rangers from going up early. Owen Power essentially just sent it to the point on a clearing attempt. Not a lot of, we've talked off the air, Sean, you want Owen Power to maybe embrace the moose a little more, try to be more of a moose, know that he's a big guy, that he can get to whatever area he needs to get yourself in a better position, throw it up the middle of the ice, clear it, kind of lazy clearing attempt, ends up in the back of the Sabres net. So the first real thing that happened in the game was, way to go, Owen Power.
Well, I mean, he also took a penalty on his first shift of the game.
Yes, yes, okay. The first goal, I guess, was way to go, Owen Power.
Yeah, it was a really, really tough first period. Takes a penalty, has the giveaway leading to the goal on the PK. A whole whopping 2 minutes and 57 seconds of ice time in the first period because after that goal, stapled to the bench by Lindy Ruff.
Sean, how you feel about Owen Power being benched?
Good. Well, I guess I don't feel good about the fact that he got himself benched, obviously. I feel good that there seems to be some kind of accountability, like he talked about afterwards. He was not the only one who got benched. And honestly, the other guy that got benched is more of a concern to me. But yeah, I mean, Owen Power, I was very defensive of Owen Power. I got to take this off. I can't do this. I was very defensive of Owen Power because not a unique take at all, but I think being a young D-man is very difficult. And it takes a while to adjust. And I think, he's a very good offensive player. And I think at a certain point, those things can balance each other out. But they didn't last night. He was very, very bad. And even the one goal, the second goal they gave up, I guess, wasn't necessarily his fault. But it still went off his skates. Yes. And it was just one of those things where it's just
well, yeah. I mean,
every time he can make a mistake, it seems like he does.
If the question is, how does he respond after getting benched in the first period? The answer is very poorly, because in the second period, he had one of the worst shifts that I've seen from a player this season. He completely whiffs on a very, very easy possession at center ice. Nobody around him. Just completely whiffs on it. Then later in that shift, has the puck at the point in the offensive zone. Plenty of space to do anything he wants with it. Instead, goes into a mental freeze. Can't decide what to do with it. Just falls down, gives the puck away, goes the other way. And then a few minutes later, has a super lazy giveaway behind his own net that leads to an unbelievable scoring chance, and he gets bailed out by UPL. Then in the third period, he scores a goal. He scores a goal.
Welcome to the Owen Power experience.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that he's a very good offensive player. That has never been the knock on Owen Power. Always a very, very high offensive skill set, high offensive upside, to the point where he is tied this season for the most points amongst defensemen at 5-on-5, tied with Cale Makar with 16 5-on-5 points. So the Owen Power experience is not all negative.
Not at all.
At some point, you have to learn to play the position and figure it out mentally to the point where the offensive upside is not overshadowed by like whatever the fuck is going on away from that.
He's a high event player is what he was last night. So the bullet points of last night was, as you said, takes penalty first shift, giveaway on the penalty kill leads to a goal against, really tough with the puck in the second period. In the third period, scores a goal. The second goal, of course, as you said, Sean, goes off him. So factors in directly to 3 of the goals that were scored in this 5-goal game. He was the highest event player in this game, and it was mostly very bad. And I kind of buried the lead that he gets benched in the first period.
Yeah. I guess my biggest problem with the Owen Power conversation is that, like, yeah, he's not that great, but that's not what's wrong with this team. Like, it's not that Owen Power is not playing. Like, I mean, I guess it's like a microcosm of it, but like, Owen Power should not be alone. Like, and this is not a take that I came up with, but like, he needs to be with somebody that is better at playing hockey, that is a better defensive player.
Henry Jokiharju? Like, I've seen a lot of Sabres fans saying that like Owen Power stinks because he's playing with Henry.
Yeah, it's just like if you're going to put all of your eggs in this Owen Power basket, which you do by drafting him first overall, knowing that he is an offensive player, like you need to put him with a good defensive player on his defensive pair, and all roads to me lead back to Kevin Adams being bad at his job.
Well,
like have not put him in a position to succeed.
Yeah. So here's the succinct way that I sum it up is that the Buffalo Sabres don't have an Owen Power problem. Owen Power has a Buffalo Sabres problem where they are not positioning him in a development place where he's being put in a place to succeed, or at least not being taught the right things to shore up the defensive game. Like, and that is and has applied to so many Buffalo Sabres young players for years. And still, like right now, so many of their good, talented players that are supposed to be taking steps forward to make the Buffalo Sabres more relevant just aren't progressing and aren't developing to the way that they should. And the way that we heard it earlier this week, I think we were in the car coming back from New York, and I don't know if it was Merrick or Wyshynski, but one of them said, like, the problem with the Sabres is that, like, basically everybody in that organization is playing or like is holding a role one step above where they belong right now, from like the coach, Kevin Adams, basically all the players.
Which was doubly true but last night, by the way, because Rasmus Dahlin has been out. So Owen Power is our top D-man.
So like the Sabres are just I would argue at this point in time, the most dysfunctional organization in the entire NHL. And that's because the Arizona Coyotes no longer exist.
Your thing about the partner situation is interesting to me because there are a lot of players who develop in such an easy / position to succeed sort of situation. And 2 guys I'm going to talk about are an undrafted player and another high pick, but not a first overall pick. Torrey Krug with the Bruins came in and was like only offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cannot play defense. Do not expect this player to be able to play defense. He got a lot of run with Zdeno Chara. Like, I was
gonna say,
and Zdeno Chara I think is the best defenseman of my lifetime. People are going to disagree with that.
The best defensive defenseman.
But like, unbelievable thing to counter that.
Yes.
So someone who's more responsible, and another player that we talk about all the time on this show is Evan Bouchard. And I love Matthias Ekholm because he lets me love Evan Bouchard.
Yeah,
right. That pairing rocks because I will always say that Matthias Ekholm is that team's number 1 defenseman, even if Evan Bouchard is the biggest contributor of the Oilers blue liners.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like number 1 defenseman or most important defenseman to make the whole thing work.
So, and now I'm going to say somebody who is not Zdeno Chara at all, but they had money in the offseason. Why didn't you sign Brett Pesce? Like, why didn't you get...
Well, I mean, the answer to that may well be because they couldn't.
Yeah,
I mean, you listen to Kevin Adams talk, it doesn't appear that anybody wants to fucking play in Buffalo.
The palm trees in New Jersey. I mean, the Devils stunk last year, man.
Yeah. But everybody knew that those problems were fixable and that, like, they should be a good team.
So you couldn't have... I say this with all love of my heart for this person. You couldn't have Brady Shade Brett Pesce?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you.
Not that
I don't know
like
if you
Brett Pesce
want
being
to.
on this team makes them unbelievable, but like I think that I think we can agree. I think that a lot of this is on Owen Power too.
Regardless of how you want to approach it, like you can build a better team with the pieces that you have. Like everybody talks about the Buffalo Sabres and the pieces that they have, the young pieces, the Dylan Cousins, the Tage Thompsons, the Owen Power, the Rasmus Dahlins. It's about putting them in a position to succeed, one, by development, and two, by the ancillary pieces around them to make them work and bring out the best in them. And the Sabres just aren't doing any of that stuff.
Yeah. This is the show that crosses sports, and we do it proudly. What happened yesterday in Major League Baseball?
I mean, the Boston Red Sox trading for Garrett Crockett.
So what did the Red Sox are a team, if you don't know baseball, like myself. My understanding of the Red Sox right now is that they have a lot of young players, guys who are either close to MLB ready.
One of the best farm systems in baseball.
Really consider like brimming with young talent. And yesterday they consolidated that group and they kept their top, very, very best young players, but they traded 2 or 3 of them and some other guys, and they got a more established 25-year-old pitcher who is imperfect, but definitely more of a sure thing, more established, and just more successful, knows what they're doing more, has more of a track record than the rest of those guys. That's a thing that teams have been doing in every sport, not quite football, I'll say, forever, which is like, we're young, we need that little more established guy. We can trade a few of our really good young players for a slightly older player, and that is going to make the rest of the Red Sox pitching staff, which is also young, going to kind of fall into place more. So should they at some point be trying to make a hockey trade that consolidates all of these young guys? Because they still, even if we say their NHL roster isn't very deep, it's just not deep with established players.
But part of the problem with that, I think, is something that in that same podcast we listened to, like that Wish brought up, is like, who is literally going to play on the NHL roster if you start doing stuff like that? Like if you start trying to consolidate your young players for one more established player, then like,
so you're saying you can't swap out 3 bodies for one right now?
Yeah,
because
there's nobody to replace those people. So, and if anything, like, you look at the bottom 6 players on this roster, they're the only ones that look like they want to fucking be there.
Yes.
Like, Jordan Greenway played his ass off last night. Zach Benson tries every single time he's on
Jordan
the ice.
Greenway last night were the
Dogs.
2 like
only people that wanted to be there, other than UPL.
Zach Benson is a pit bull.
Yeah, that is the exact reference that I made last night. I almost tweeted it out. I should have. Like, Zach Benson is to Owen Power what pit bulls are to Great Danes. Like, Owen Power is this giant body who does not realize or how big he is and use that strength. Meanwhile, Zach Benson does not give a shit about how small he is. Mm-hmm. He's in there getting to the dirty areas every single time. My problem with last night, I guess, is that, like, obviously a lot of the focus is on Owen Power for the mistakes that he made. But, like, when you think about it, the second goal that the Rangers scored was a complete fluke, not actually Owen Power's fault. First one, you could blame almost entirely on Owen Power. But, like, if he's giving up one goal, like, you shouldn't be losing those games still. Like, JJ Peterka has 1 goal in 11 games. He also got benched last night. Like, nobody on this team is playing well. And I get that, like, Owen Power is playing very, very poorly. But, like, if this team was built properly by a GM that knew what he was doing, those mistakes would not be getting, I'm sure they'd be getting noticed, but they would not be nearly as important as they are.
Yeah, I mean, Owen Power right now is the scapegoat or the punching bag for a lot of angry fans who absolutely deserve to be angry. The bigger picture thing here is that, like, everybody's out of their depths, and this organization just continuously makes the same mistakes over and over again. And, like, you can talk all you want about accountability from, like, the player perspective, but, like, where's the accountability for, like, a Kevin Adams or even, like, a Terry Pagula? Like, who just keeps putting yes men in place and doesn't have, like, this senior leadership in the front office. Like, there is no culture in Buffalo. No. There is no positive culture. Yeah, and that to me is the bigger problem, where, like, there is an element of ineptitude, sure, but also an element of, like, apathy as well. Yes, and where it's just like, well, what can you do?
And that was my reaction to last night, was that, like I said, no one seemed like they want to be there, and I don't blame them. Like, the arena's half empty, and the people that are there are shitting all over the team consistently, well within their right to do so, because they should be. The team sucks. And it's like, the owner doesn't seem like he gives a shit. Kevin Adams doesn't seem like he actually gives a shit. And if you're the players, like at a certain point,
I'm
you
Rasmus
can't
Dahlin
just
and I play for
rally
the
on
Buffalo
the fact
Sabres.
that like everyone fucking hates you. So let's play for each other. Like that's only going to get you so far. I don't blame them. Like it's not acceptable. They're professional athletes, but like I understand why it seems like they are all a little checked out.
We all silly like the mayor.